All right, back here on the Steve Day Show. You know, yesterday was Mother's Day. But right now, the fight with our moms continues. There are too many women in America because we've turned every mailbox in America into an abortion mill. There are frankly too many women in America that today are going to wrestle with whether or not to become a mom or a murderer. I mean, I just can't put it any bluntly than that. And that is where our friends over at Preborn, where they come from. And this is where you guys join them. And you guys have been incredible. I mean, your generosity is why we are continuing on with this partnership here with Preborn, yet another year here at the Blaze. Because for as little as $28, you could fund an ultrasound today that doubles a baby's chance at life. And then also, they do a lot more there at Preborn too. They don't just say, hey, thanks for choosing life. Good luck to you. They are there now to help this new family get started off on the right foot. Prenatal care, counseling, postnatal care like car seats, diapers, as much as they can. Sometimes for up to 2 years after the baby is born, they are there now to help this new family get started off on the right foot. And this stuff is all free of charge as well, but we all know that it's not really free. And that's where you and your tax-deductible donation comes in today. Let's keep it going. You guys have been incredibly generous. You've helped them save tens of thousands of babies with our partnership here at the Blaze. There's tens of thousands more that need saving as well. At preborn.com/Steve. Again, that's preborn.com/Steve. Well, we welcome in our good friend Bob Vanderplas, I'm a family leader. Good to see you, brother. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Good to be here. Love the Brooks Brothers shirt. Kind of spicing it up.
You like that a little bit? I thought it was a little kind of a spring kind of a color scheme, so I thought I'd go with it.
I'm thinking Michigan when I come in, or Crocs or whatever else. Just like you told me you're going to wear.
Well, I am wearing my Crocs today. You just can't see them under the desk. But yes.
Even when you called me to say, hey, if we're going to go see the vice president, just know I'm in sweats and Crocs.
I was trolling you.
I know you're trolling me. I figured it out.
But I did.
It was fun.
We went over there to see JD when he was in town last week, and I called Bob and said, hey, I'm just coming right from the show, man. I'm wearing my shorts and Crocs. Do you think that's okay?
Yep.
And there was a slight pause, and he was like, well, I mean, I guess if that's what you're wearing, that's what you're wearing, I guess.
Well, I was actually kind of excited. I thought, at least I'm going to look really good because I'm suit and tie, showing the office a little bit of respect.
Let's look at something that does not look really good.
You bet.
All right, so this is a trend line of where Americans are by the age of 30. This was going viral on social media over the weekend. In 1975, 91% of women were married by age 30 in America. So roughly about the year I was born.
Yep.
Okay. 81% of men had already been married at least once by the age of 30 in America. All right, so now we have 1985, the first full, now the generation born into the sexual revolution now has its first foray into adulthood. And the numbers, look what happens to the numbers here. 77.5% for women and 67.7% for men. All right, had already been married at least once by age 30. So generally speaking, biblically speaking, a generation is 40 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're from 1985 to 40 years would be 2025, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's look at now a full generation of what this looks like. So you see right away from 75 to 85 an instant breakdown. Once we get into the fullness of feminism and the sexual revolution, way more women full-time working in the workplace and in corporate America in 1985 than there were in 1975, right? All right. So the fullness of feminism and the sexual revolution hits, and there's an instant precipitous drop in just a decade. But now look to see what has happened in the decades since feminism and the sexual revolution have become fully immersed and deployed in the culture. All right? This is why I say worldview is destiny. Look at these numbers. 1995, it drops again from 64% of women to 54% of men. 2005, it drops again. We're now 51% of women. 41% of men have been married at least once by age 30. 2015, look at this. 37% of women married at least once by age 30. Only 28% of men. And now in 2025, 26% of women have been married at least once by age 30. Only 17% of men. Now, I did a little research on these numbers, and these numbers, you could take it from a few different sources, and maybe percentages might move a few points here or there. But the overall trend line here is absolutely within the MOE. This trend line is generally and fundamentally true. All right. So it maybe, depending on another source you look at, the men might be at 19% and the women at 20%, but we're in that margin for error. This trend line is stark. It is death of a culture level stuff. So the reason I wanted to talk to you about it today, Bob, is because I think you can attack this from a couple different angles. One, policy-wise, doing something about stuff like this is what you guys do every day at the Family Leader.
It is.
All right. So we could talk. I want us to talk about what policies are we not pursuing that we should. What policies are we pursuing that we should not, right? And what policies should we be doing more to incentivize? But then I'd also wanted you to make it just very practical and personal. You and Darla have raised 3 boys who were all married by age 30, right? And are well-adjusted, successful young men, right? So you've defied this trend line of 17% 3 times in your own household. What are some practical, personal things that you and Darla instilled in your home that you could maybe, now that you're old enough to be grandpa now, kind of pass on as well? So the floor now is yours. You may take the personal or the policy, whichever you want to take first.
Well, I would take the personal first because Darla and I just had this conversation, and we said, and before you had the statistics up here, that we are living in a bubble. And meaning living in a bubble is that all 3 boys are church-going young men. They're all married. They're all of them are successful in the careers in which they have chosen. They all own their own home, and they're all free of college debt. And so it's like...
And you're a multimillionaire, of course.
No.
No, you are not.
Not even close.
No.
But taking a look at that, going, what an advantage they have on the rest of their peer group in culture, because that's not what people are fighting with today. And so when you look at these numbers, it's disturbing because not only is it the sexual revolution, Steve, which you talked about, and the rise of feminism, but it's also the rise of how do we demasculate our men instead of men taking that role responsibly. Now, Darla and I, we got married at age 20. Both of us at age 20, still in college, graduate from college, get a job. After we get a job, we have kids. As we have kids, we continue to engage in the church and make church a very vibrant piece of their life while they get an education and living well balanced in regards to what can we have, what can't we have, making even financial decisions on what basketball shoes can you have, what camps can you attend, what leagues can you be a part of, because money just, doesn't grow on trees, right? But kind of the foundation of funds, it's not complicated. I think Charlie Kirk used to say, listen, graduate from high school.
Get married.
Get a job, get married, have kids in that order, and your poverty level goes way, way down.
Get married, have kids, go to church. Yeah.
And what you're seeing today, it should be alarming on a lot of angles. And so to me, it should not be all that complicated. Matter of fact, Chuck Hurley, a peer of mine that both of you guys know, or Aaron as well, Vice President, Chief Counsel of the Family Leader, has been around forever. But probably 15 years ago, he came to me and he said, I want to write a book. I said, all right, what's the book going to be? And he said, I want to encourage teenage sex. I said, kind of like, tap the brake, put in the clutch, like, Chuck, are you sure? He goes, no, I want them to get married first. But then I want them to start having kids. Because God designed you with high sexual octane at that level. Get married, put parameters on, be engaged in church, have kids, raise kids, have a bunch of kids, and flourish as a society. And what you're seeing today by these numbers, you're just killing the American family. The other thing that happened, though, Steve, is the rise of feminism, the rise of demasculating men, but also the devaluing of marriage. And the devaluing of marriage happened on a couple of fronts. One is no-fault divorce. And divorces started happening like crazy. There's a lot of kids in those statistics that said, listen, I'm not going through that. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting married. I saw what it did to me and to my siblings. But the other thing that devalues marriage is when you take the parameters off of marriage. And all of a sudden, it's same-sex marriage, and nobody knows
That's weird. I mean, we're letting anybody literally marry anything they want, and yes, we're getting less marriage than we ever did before.
Well, what is it?
Help me understand how that works.
It devalues marriage. That was never the role and design for the institution of marriage. And so when you take a look at the Family Index, I think that reference to you on the phone, and we'll try to make it available to your readers. It's something's like a 22-page report. But the essence of it is married adults. So what you're going there with the graph, married adults with children, okay? And then it's married adults, children. There's one other category. But it's just like that is what is the basis of this thriving, if you want to build a civilization, or if you want to build a culture of life or a culture of family within your state, this is the way you'd go about it. And we have states failing and failing miserably in it.
So if you could get on the phone with President Trump right now, all right, what 2 or 3 things would you have him do about what I just said, or what I just asked you about, that he could do without needing literally any help from Congress whatsoever? Because I think we are looking for those options given the state of Congress. What 2 or 3 things have we not done here in the state of Iowa yet that you would urge Governor Reynolds to do before she leaves office? What 2 or 3 things have we done in the state of Iowa that you would urge other states to do if they have not yet?
Those are all good questions. And I think there's things that we could do, say you get down in the weeds. I think the biggest thing that a President Trump could do, the governor of every state could do, is model what does this look like and give voice to what does this look like. And so President Trump, I mean, it's well known he's been married 3 different times, or he's on his 3rd marriage. But you take a look at his kids, even like an Ivanka and Jared. But at least it's a family unit. Or a Eric, and I forget his wife's name. Is it Laura? Eric and Laura.
Yep.
But be modeling these type of things. Be giving voice to these things, why this is healthy for a culture. If you're Speaker Mike Johnson, same type of thing. If you're Governor Kim Reynolds, same type of thing. Kim Reynolds talked a lot about in her State of the Union 2 years ago about fatherhood and about the roles of dads and raising the importance of the roles of dads and men being men today. I think one of the lasting legacies of Charlie Kirk, and you're seeing it lived out all the time, is Gen Z men. Well, one of the growing factors right now is Gen Z men are getting back into church. It's one of the highest statistical things of what we're seeing in growth in the churches with Gen Z men. And Gen Z men basically saying we've been lied to. People trying to demask us. We have a role to play. We have a role to play here. I think even in the whole abortion debate or foster care debate or adoption debate, it shouldn't all be on the woman. Where's the man that impregnated this woman? What responsibility does the man have? You can't advocate that kind of responsibility.
Like when I hear abortionists say things like, well, if we get rid of abortion, then we're going to have to punish the men who get these women pregnant. And I'm like, well, your terms are acceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, agreed. So let's proceed to the next stage.
The
Yes.
terms are acceptable.
Yes.
However, the term is also a little bit the problem. We want to punish the men. Instead of, children are a heritage from the Lord. I mean, this is a glorious thing. This is not a punishment thing. I mean, Darla and I just saw the baptism of our 3rd grandchild yesterday. You've got a chance to see one, and you got another one on the way. When you become a grandparent, I think you realize more how precious it is that you are entrusted with these children and now these grandchildren. We got our 4th on the way. So Josh and Danielle in Columbus, Ohio, we called them to wish Danielle a happy Mother's Day yesterday. She's not due until October. But this is a gift from God. But what we have done is we've turned it on our head that this is an inconvenience. It's an inconvenience to your career. It's an inconvenience to your prosperity. It's an inconvenience to your joy in life, because life is all about you. So one of the best things the leaders can do, and I think forget about the political leaders for a second. Look at leaders that you want to model after. As iron sharpens iron, if you say, I want to have joy and fulfillment, well, what about the mom and dad who have been married 40, 50 plus years? Darla and I, when we were in an Uber like in Washington, D.C. just last week for the SBA gala, an Uber driver said, how long have you two been married? We said 43 years. And he was like blown away by that because he just doesn't hear that anymore. We've been married 43 years. God gave us 4 boys, 3, and then, of course, Lucas as well. But 3 boys, happily married, developing families. That's where joy is. The joy is not in the bank account. The joy is not in the corporate ladder. And one guy, agree with this politics or don't agree with this politics, but I encourage you to read it, watch it, whatever. But Ben Sass is being very clear-eyed now as he's facing death about what is important. And it's not about having that other meeting. It's not about having that next trip. It's not about whatever. Family's important. And some of the regrets that he has is that he missed out on some of those times with his family.
Well, we got about 90 seconds here. I want to make sure we get the order of things right because what's happened to masculinity and the nuclear family can drive young men back to church looking for answers, okay? But ultimately, the answers come in being reconnected through Christ to your heavenly Father.
Amen.
And then that flows from the inside out. You don't go to church to become the husband and father you desire to be. You go to church to become who you were originally created to be through Christ, and that reconciliation is what will make you the husband and father that you desire to be. And I go back to Charlie's memorial when Rob McCoy stood up there and said, hey, all these young men now we're going to be sending to you guys in your churches. Are you really ready for them? Translation, are you guys ready to stop teaching the pseudo-feminist 24-minute feminized mixed sermons and the Jesus is my boyfriend music in order to receive all these young men? Otherwise, this will all be for naught. Yeah. Because if they go to church and don't get the answers they're looking for because we're not taking discipleship seriously, then all we're really doing is taking their angst and just turning them right into future groypers, essentially. Those are really the options. You get about 30 seconds. I'll give you the last word.
Plug them into good churches. Let me give you some hope. There's 3 things that we're seeing in the church world today, and these are of good churches. One is they are planting more churches. That's a very good sign. That's a sign of a vibrant church. 2, as I just mentioned, Gen Zers are coming in like never, ever before. So you want to be able to do that. Plant new churches, Gen Zers coming in, men coming back into the church. But then 3 is churches wanting to be the answer to the community problems going. It's not government, it's the church. When that happens, some of these trend lines will reverse.
Good to see you, brother. Thank you.
Good to see you.
All right, when we come back, we're going to introduce a new segment on the show. And we're going to have the whole conversation about the debate that's been raging the last few years on the right. Is America a creedal nation or not? What does that even mean? We'll get into that here in a moment. Stay tuned.